Ash, it is so good to be here, man. I think the best way to start the conversation, we've got Jason, got myself here, and you. I think the best way to start it off is by just turning it over to you for a second, and in your own words, breaking down sort of what it is you do and what you're looking forward to today.
Okay, well, Jason and Philip, first of all, thank you both for having me here. I really, really appreciate you guys. I'm really thankful for being here. And, I would say that, number one, look, I'm a holistic, financial business consultant. So I get into, I'm no longer a financial planner, but I happen to have that background from the past. So I like to use that for the holistic minded or open-minded entrepreneur. And two main entrepreneurs I serve is either in the holistic or the wellness field, or I serve the financial advisors, insurance agents, that kind of thing. So like for me, it's important to, let everybody know that, you can make it. You can make it big. I mean, if you really choose to.
Okay.
So
now, at what point does finance come into your life as a path that you're going to go down?
So I think, I will tell you like firsthand, I think that money is something that is a currency that we exchange, in terms of energetically, physically, no matter, how old you are. So the real question probably is like, when does money not come in play, in our lifetime? I think that in at least for now, until crypto takes over, right? That's a different story, but
yeah. So then you said you used to do financial planning. Was that easy to do? Were you in the States, any of that nature, like from the get-go, or did you have to travel, and what was that like?
Yeah, so like I originally came here from India in 1989 with 20 bucks and no English. I grew up here in Maryland. I ran into financial services in 1994. I wasn't bad when I started. I was pathetic. I had to, I had to blackmail my dad through my mom to get my first sale in the door. And eventually I became good as an advisor. And, I kept on failing my insurance exam several times and stuff like that because of English barriers. And, the time was enough. They gave us like 1 minute and 20 seconds per question to understand, comprehend, and answer the question. Well, I wasn't the guy for that. So it just took a lot longer until I discovered that I could take longer time. And I passed eventually, and I became an advisor. It wasn't exactly easy. I wouldn't say like first 6 years was a school of hard knocks. So, I struggled a lot. And eventually I became an advisor, a full-blown financial advisor. I got my investment licenses and all that, and became a registered investment advisor. And I was managing over $300 million at one point.
Whoa, $300 million. That sounds like something Jason knows a lot about.
Yeah, it's very interesting because let me share something that I've learned through my life about finances and money. Finances or investing, all these different things. Money is a relationship, right? We can treat it like a thing, or we can create it like a relationship that we grow with it, right?
Yeah.
And not use money as a tool to just use for things, right? Because things are very temporary, right? And if we grow alongside our wealth, there's so much more power in that, right?
Yes.
And because
absolutely.
then you can use wealth for good, right?
Yep.
Because in my mind, being rich and being wealthy are two very different things.
Yep.
There's a lot of rich people.
Mm-hmm.
There's not very many wealthy people.
Yeah.
I'm actually curious. Is that sort of the philosophy behind financial chakras for you, Ash? Is that sort of where you ended up? And because it's an interesting name for a company.
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah. So the philosophy behind financial chakras is to understand energetically how to attract money in the right way or wealth in the right way, right? Because at the end of the day, we can be rich. Like, I will give you an example of, some group that I got introduced to lately. And I mean, full disclosure, I believe they're being scammed, but that's their story to tell you later, not mine. But based on everything that I'm seeing is definitely leading towards a definitive conclusion, at least on my part, that it's a scam. However, right, if they do become rich, they will attract wealth from a different angle, and I believe that at some point they will have to pay for that. So, how you attract wealth in your life is so crucial, because there's an direct energetic alignment. See, what happened was, as far as a company name, like you asked me, Philip, like that's an interesting company name, and how I came up with that is until 2004, I was with banks and managing a lot of money. Then I went out on my own. I built a successful business. I was doing about $5 million a year in business, in sales. And then in 2008, I got scammed, and I lost a lot of money, and energetically it just hit me really hard. And me being introverted person, it hit me even harder. So one day, like, my grandfather was my hero, and ever since I was born, I grew up with him. And so, because my mom had a postpartum, depression, so I basically grew up with my grandfather. And we were talking about chakras and meditation and yoga and finance and business and life and all of that. And one day we were talking about chakras, and we got into the conversation, and I broke down, and he's like, "What happened?" And I told him what transpired. And so he's like, he helped me kind of like fix myself up a little bit. So I was about to go like this way, but because he helped me energetically in the right way, my business actually doubled, right? Within a short, less than like 6 month span of time. So then I asked him a question: has anybody proven how chakras could exist in financial instruments? And I said, because I needed to make a comeback story anyways. So I'm like, let's make it different way, So I said, what can I do? So he said that has never been done. So I went to work. I took 7 chakras. I put them in specific, or I started putting in combinations, and I found that is one specific combination by which, and only by which, you become wealthy, not just rich, but wealthy, right? So what I found was a formula, and then we had to come up with a name. And since it was about finances and chakras, it became Financial Chakras. And eventually I was able to figure out that each financial instrument does have energetic centers by which we particularly align with, one way, shape, or form. And that's what the Financial Chakra is about: new way of thinking about money in a totally different way from a human technology. And then eventually I went on to like develop a system. And then, so I figured out like I created a mathematical formula on how to measure your emotions in dollars and how to measure your potential in dollars. Alongside with that, I discovered that each human being, we have two other main factors, which is your primary energy and your primary energy flow. So your energy flow is like a stock market. It's either it takes you down or it brings you up. Just depends on how, where you're flowing and how you're flowing internally. And it is a signature that really, makes the biggest difference. In terms of each person has a unique, like a thumbprint or a signature, where by which they actually relate with finances and financial instruments in a specific manner. So it's a whole different way of thinking about money.
How did you market this once you had this story? I mean, it's definitely new. It's definitely different. Were you able to tap into your original customers and repackage it, or what? How did you go about that?
Yeah. So, look, I believe in giving, like Jason was saying, like, you grow with it, right? I mean, you gotta grow from within. And I believe that you don't chase money, you gotta attract money, right? And to attract money, you have to know internally, who you are in many ways, right? And so, and to attract the right type of money, it to me is more important. Like, people say, sometimes they tell me you're not famous, or I haven't heard of you like Tony Robbins or somebody else. And I'm like, well, it's because, the lifestyle I want to have is different than, lifestyle somebody else might want to have, right? But overall, I feel like I have a pretty good quality of life. And I believe that when I attract customers, and the way, like what you're asking me, I like word of mouth. I don't like to do a lot of hustle bustle. It's just not my style. I'm getting out there, no doubt. At this point, obviously I'm on the podcast, right? So I am getting out there, and I'm good at getting out there. It's just I've chosen to lead a life that is a little different than what most people would say. And I like to keep things simple. I have a daughter. She's about to go to medical school, so I'm focused on that at the moment. And to me, that's more important. And I think that I attract that kind of people, and I do believe that you attract who you are. And it's such a, and for me, I like that. From a pace point of view, I like it. um, will I ever get to a point where I will say I'm working, I don't know, 12 hours a day, 13 hours a day? Possibly. But right now I wake up early, around 5 or so. I start my day early. I end my day around 6 or so in the evening, spend some time with the family. And then Saturday, Sunday, I make sure that I'm not doing, much, if anything at all, except spend time with family. And that's kind of like my lifestyle that I have built. But I do believe that you attract your customers based on who you are.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Jason's a family man himself, so he understands, I think, where you're
Yeah.
going with that.
Yeah. Well, here's another perspective I've always thought of, and that is a lot of us spend time, right, developing our families, or we are spending time on our health, right? And I really look at family, health, and money as it's a triangle, right? So I call it the Trinity of success. That's what I call it, right? Because if you have a healthy, you're healthy as a human, right? You have a healthy family, and then you have a healthy financial plan. That's it. That's what you need, right? There isn't anything else, right?
No.
And if you think there is, you're going to be really disappointed.
Can you share some of the financial chakra? Like, is it a course or something? Is there anything you can share on it? Because I really actually want to know what the chakras are about. Like, if there's one or two of them, you can, like, maybe let's say the first one.
Yeah, let's start with the first one. So chakras start with the base of your spine, right? They go in between your privates and your rectum. So the tailbone right there. So with chakras, like, think of chakras as like wheels. Chakra, the word, Sanskrit word, which was written up in oldest text called the Vedas in around 2000 BC. And the chakra, the word itself means wheel. Okay, that's what it means. So think of like a spoke of the wheel, right? Like a spoke of the wheel, and that's pretty much how they are structured. Now, within each chakra, like, there is actually physically speaking, there are nerve centers in your body. So there are 7 chakras, and they start with the base of the spine. That's called root chakra, or Muladhara as a Sanskrit name, a base chakra. Then you have a sacral chakra, which is right above, right above your privates, around 2 like centimeters or inches, like right underneath your belly.
The navel. Yeah. Okay.
The third one is the navel chakra.
Oh.
Fourth one is the heart chakra. Fifth one is the throat chakra. Sixth one is your third eye chakra, and then seventh one is your nirvanic state. So like the base, so each chakra has multiple, majority of your nerves meet with where each chakra is. So think of them as like a command centers for your emotional being. So each command center has a different emotions attached to it, whether it's fear, anxiety, uncertainty, anger, anguish, whatever that may be, love, compassion, all of that is attached to each one, and they go at a much deeper level. Now, what transpires with a human being, with your root chakra, is like your base. And what happens with us is, as a base, people believe that, get grounded, and that's the philosophy that many people believe in, when there is a troublesome time or something of that nature that's happening. But with that, the base chakra carries the fear, anxiety, uncertainty, certainty, greed, like a lot of the basic human issues that are really related to us, right? So what transpires with that chakra is that either you are grounded. I believe sometimes people try to get too grounded, because I do believe in, I think you need to be fluid, in my opinion, when you have a problem, not necessarily be stuck. You don't want to be a rock, on a floor. So the base chakra has a lot to do with lot of your emotional states, and negative emotional states that kind of resides there, and that's constantly pulling a human being down. And it's all about when you do the meditations and other things, it's all about releasing that and really getting yourself open to other things.
I see. So I think I'm being understand a little more. So you actually have meditations that help create the right energetic alignment with the chakras. And along with that, do you provide people, like, is this like course online training, or is this then lead to like also understanding some vehicles, since you do have a background in like financial planning and things of that nature, where you also present to them, now that you've aligned your chakra, take a look at a vehicle like this that you should consider investing in now that you're in the right place. Is that sort of what that looks like?
Yeah, so what that looks like is like, first, we are sitting down with the client, and it's more of a physical process, as of right now, and I do like 3-day events around it. And so what happens is we get into the what is financial chakras formula, what are chakras, and get into a lot more detail and really understanding who you are as a human being. I get into what's your primary energy and what's your primary energy flow. Identifying those two things is 90+% of the work, because those two things will determine what financial instruments somebody should be choosing, or what choices they have in the open markets, right? Not recommending financial products, but letting them understand how all of these things are in alignment with who they are. So like what happens is that with these two things alone, what I find is that, like, a lot of times you buy something and you're just not satisfied with it. Or like if you buy a financial product and you go, wait a minute, maybe that wasn't the right choice, right? That kind of thing, right? So that helps you eliminate that angst later, and it saves you time by understanding what products you should be buying for yourself, because ultimately either you're buying for yourself or for your family, but this helps you, with that piece. And then understanding how to measure your potential and your emotions in dollars, that helps you understand how, people say time is money. The question is how much money. And that way you get to make a decision. If you're making a business decision or other decisions, how much compounding is it really causing? Or if you're going down, how much is costing you? So I usually do this in like a 3-day format, where we sit down and we talk about, we really dive into this, so you have a clarity around this particular matter. But it's a deep dive conversations.
I see. And so this is done on a group or one-to-one?
It's both, one-to-one or group. Typically speaking, if I'm doing one-to-one, I can do it a little faster. But if it's in group, I do it about 2.5 days to 3 days is approximately time it takes.
Right on. Okay.
Yeah.
How would
it's interesting how you tie all this together, right? And it really makes me curious, in your own business yourself as a human being, how do you really handle those losses and those struggles, right? How do you eat your own dog food, right? That's what I always like to say as business owners, right? We stand up on our platform and preach, right? But how do we eat our own dog food? And curious to get that little bit from you.
Okay, how do I eat my own dog food? So Jason, buddy, I got news for you. I don't eat dog food, I eat Indian food. So that being said,
How do you eat your own Indian food? There
There
you
you go.
go.
Yeah, no, but
Uh,
basically, look, what I found is that, when I got scammed, so when I went to my grandfather, right, one of the biggest things I like caught up at that time, one of the biggest things I learned at that time was how is your ability to understand your primary energy and your energy flow and what's your right flow. So I'll give you a perfect example. For me, I'm a very heart-centric person. I love giving, and that's pretty much how I operate. If it's not fun, if it's not love-oriented, if it's not something that I really want to do, I will just walk away from it usually. Okay. It's not money-driven kind of a mission. It's not a what's my goal? I know how big of a goal do I want to accomplish? Is none of that, right? So for me, when I'm in my flow, I typically go from my fourth chakra, and when I'm not in my flow, what I normally do is I will go from my heart chakra into my first chakra, my root chakra, and I will pretty much stay, between my heart chakra, my third eye chakra, and my root chakra, and that's kind of like the flow that I stay in. More on the, and I'll put myself down, or I will not move. I become immobile, or worried, or anxiety, or uncertainty will creep in. When I'm in my right flow, what I tend to do is I go from my heart chakra into my second chakra, into my third eye chakra, into my fourth chakra, and then go into my base chakra. So like I really, flow in a different way. Knowing that information, that little signature, right? Anytime I get into a situation, I acknowledge that, and I'm able to get out of that at a much faster rate than somebody else might be, right? So these are the important things. So this, like, such a crucial component, because successful people, unconsciously or consciously, they have figured this out. They don't know that they have a flow, right? But I promise you, there's a definitive flow. If you take a flow between Jeff Bezos, and if you take a flow and versus, let's say, Microsoft CEO,
Bill Gates or, oh, no, no, no.
Bill Gates, right?
Yeah.
Bill Gates. Okay. So if you go between the two, they're both logical people. They both come from the third eye chakra, if you will, to a good degree. So it would appear until you read up their stuff. But overall, like if you look at them as a logical people, you'll be surprised how different they flow. Like in my book, Financial Chakra, that's coming out, and this is what I have written about, is understanding that successful people have figured out their flow, their signature, not anybody else's signature, but their signature. What is their signature? And they're able to get out of the situation. We all fall down, and we all have to eat, maybe Indian food that you don't like sometimes. But overall, how to turn that food into some beautiful, delicious meal. That's the difference.
Right on. So as we start to like get closer to the tail end of this, I have a important question. If there's someone who's starting out and they might be living in their root, right? They might be down, they might be getting down on themselves, they might be worried about everything. And obviously, as we know, based on what you've shared, it's impacting all of their lives, specifically also financially. What is one thing that you could leave them with right now to really bring into consideration? Or should they go out for a walk? Well, what do you think they should do?
So I think that, okay, look, number one thing is, like, understand, like what I tell people, that if you really want to understand you, right, like sit down one time and create a list of assets and liabilities. And if you just create a simple list of assets and liabilities and start paying attention to your assets as you're doing your daily routines, stop focusing on what's a liability for you, because it's going to be that way, right? You are understanding your primary chakras, so that will come in later when you come to an event or something. But at least for the time being, if you just start making a list every single day, just make a list, like just start writing things down, forget about everything, just write. Like for me, whenever, like you asked me earlier, Philip, is that, my business is down, like, or how did I build up my business? And I have built up my business through speaking engagements and through, through my connections that I have in the business community, right? So knowing my strength, it has been such a crucial component. So I would say, if you're getting started, forget about fancy schmancy, whatever, doesn't really matter. If you have no balance whatsoever, or if you are in negative balance, my friend, you can start no matter where you are. Such as, you take a look at so many stories that are right in front of you, that you can take a look at. There are success stories. They have come from such a bad place into multi-millionaires and billionaires all around you. So the first thing we have to do is take a stock of that and say, okay, there is somebody just like me, that I can identify with, whoever that is, right? And see some of the things that they may have done, and start with that process. And then sit down and reflect and meditate. I personally meditate. If you want to do something really simple, this is called, I don't know if you know, these are called mala beads, right? Or rosary beads, if you will, right? So these are rosary beads. And if anybody wants it, I'm happy to send it to them. But these are rosary beads. So rosary beads have 108 beads. To calming your mind in the right way is so crucial. There is a story behind rosary beads. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but like, there was a guy in India, totally broke, and wanted to make a lot of money. And he went ahead and, what do you call this? He prayed and he found a lamp. And then he rubbed it, and the genie came out, and genie says, Master, ask me whatever you want, I'll give it to you. And the only condition is you have to keep asking. That's the condition. So he asked for everything, including the universe. He had everything at that point. Genie said, no, master, you have to keep asking or I take everything back. So he says, okay, now what do I do? So he goes to Himalayan mountains. He goes to this guru, and the guru basically says, go outside. He was in cave. The guru was in cave, didn't have a house. So he was in a cave. And so he goes outside and he asks the genie that, I want you to take 108-foot bamboo pole, stick it underground, one bamboo pole, and take the second bamboo pole and stick it above ground. And then my next wish is for you to go up and down on that bamboo pole. And that genie is your mind. And the only way to control that is by making sure that you come to a still position or still state, right? So mala beads or rosary beads, there's 108 beads, and there's scientific reasoning behind that. When you do rosary beads, and let's say you pray to whoever that you want to pray to, and you are praying like this, and it goes around one time, and by the time it comes to the first time, your mind begins to come to a still state. If you do this 5 times and you really concentrate and ask for anything that you want, it will help you start getting aligned in the right way and taking you in the right direction. So this is one of the things that they can do. The simplest exercise somebody can do is this.
Stillness is the key. Understood.
Stillness is the key. If you understand your assets and your liabilities and your stillness, you can go forward at a much faster speed. It's been said, at least in many scriptures, I'm sure, that people used to travel, through their, mind or their, energetic, beings. We just have forgotten.
I see. Okay, I'm getting a flavor of what it is that you're doing. So I personally think we should roll out the red carpet. I don't know what you think, Jason, and just let you tell people, how do you want people to connect with you preferably? Is it a social channel, something along those lines? Because after that, we've got a final question.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. So, people can connect with me through my website, either ashshukla.com, or more importantly, go to financialchakras.com. And they can connect with me through there. If they want to find out about financial chakras, go to financialchakras.com, and they will find all my information. And I'm Googleable. So just type in Ash Shukla and you should be able to find me pretty easily.
Okay. And now, Ash, if you were able to invite anybody, like dead or alive, here today to listen about your journey. You know, you were telling us a lot of things about like how you traveled over here and, you know, what school was like, and when you ended up finding a way through financial career only to have it all taken away from you because you come from the heart place, you know, and because you come from a place of the heart, it can put you into what would be considered a liability, but also an asset. Right. And so we're there and we're sharing this in your moment of rebranding and really repositioning, if you will, right? Realigning when you spoke with your family and they told you nobody's ever done that before. And you actually then catapulted up and you started doing these 3-day events. If you could invite anybody to sit here and listen to this and maybe even add to that, who would you have loved to have had here and why?
Well, first of all, I would definitely invite Phillip and Jason.
That's kind of a requirement there, right?
That's a requirement. Yeah, no, I would invite some of the big time speakers, you know, trainers who have blessed me in so many ways. And I mean, my very first blessing, I believe, I mean, obviously, you know, a lot of the spiritual leaders, you know, from spirituality is concerned, you know, whether it's you know, Dalai Lama or somebody like that would be a great gift, you know. But more importantly, you know, speakers and trainers who have really blessed me. I mean, you know, Tony Robbins had blessed me like when I was 21. It's how I got introduced to you know, I think Unleash the Power Within back then. He came down to Baltimore. I would love to have him. And I'd love to have other, you know, Brennan Burchard. He has made a big impact in my life. I would love to have the guy. You know, I would love to have Deepak Chopra. Though my personality and his personality may not be exact same. I may not be, but I do love him. I think that he has made a huge impact, teaching me how to do certain things, you know, knowingly or unknowingly, you know, if you will. But these are some of the people. Oprah Winfrey, would love, I mean, love to have her. Absolutely. She's a dynamite and I really would love that. So these are some of the people I wish, right? I mean, in terms of business tycoons, you know, and a lot of them have made a huge impact in my life because they've taught me along the way. I mean, I learned how to close a deal through Tom Hopkins, you know, which is one of the oldie goldie sales trainings, you know, if you will. You know, you know, I learned the words such as unbelievable. I mean, I've tried it all. I've tried it all. And yeah, I mean, these are some of the mentors. I mean, I really am blessed. And most importantly, I would have the entrepreneur that is really looking to make a shift, because without them, nothing else would matter.
I see. Okay, I'm beginning to understand. Yeah, you want to create change on a massive scale, just like the people that you've mentioned here, because you felt the power of what that kind of mindset shift can do, and you just created a new vehicle to be able to help people shift and find that center, that stillness, and take what they're doing to the next level. I think I see it clearly now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, those are all the questions I have, and that's really my thing. I don't know if Jason has anything else on his mind. Otherwise, this has been a great conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah. I just, my whole thing is, you know, a lot of the way I align with the way I do things, we just use different terminologies. That's probably it. But there's a lot of alignment in that. And I will say, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. There's only 168 hours in a week. And thank you for taking this 1 hour to spend it with us. Yeah, it's been a really great time. There's a lot of gold in this conversation if people take the time to absorb it. And that's the key.
Right on.
Thanks.
Ash,
thanks for being here.
Just want to reiterate, sorry, one thing. So it was financialchakras.com.
Yep. Financial Chakras, CHAKRAS.
Right on.
Financialchakras.com.
Thanks for stopping by, Ash.
Thank you so much for both of you. And, you know, you guys are great. And I can't thank you enough, both of you. Absolutely. Okay.
Be blessed.